Basically, a set of lightning bolts is that you've shed blood for the white race. But I've been going to get my tattoos lasered off for a long time. They expect you to stab or kill people. And this is just our whole mentality at the time. And it's not any tough guy thing. It's what it was.
This is Dave Franke, and his real life is something out of a movie.
I myself in 91 was looking into an attempted murder charge.
And what was the nature of that case? Can you share?
There was a guy walking down the street. And so I ran across the street and I dropped the dude. Come to find out, the dude was a dealer. So we're trying to get the guy to go to his house. The person I was with wound up slitting the guy's throat.
Jumped by gangs as a kid, he got hooked on drugs and alcohol. He got pulled into a violent neo-Nazi crew and somehow found his way out. He read the autobiography of Malcolm X, he got sober, and he made it his life mission to take on bad guys.
I have zero regrets, and if someday someone catches me and I gotta meet a gruesome man, I'll can pay that 100 times over, because you're not sending me any place I'm not already going.
This episode is fascinating. He goes through the entire story from hate to redemption, from the streets to the front lines. This is Dave Franke's story. He is the real life American History X. So sit back, relax, and welcome to camp.
Dave Franke.
Mark Gagnon.
How are you, sir?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me back to your show, man.
Of course,
Or
brother.
Come to my house, man.
Thanks for having us in your home again. I really appreciate it.
Dude, your guys, I've been watching a lot of your material online. You guys are just fire.
Thank you,
And
man.
I hope for those of you that don't know, these guys are the man, him and his whole crew.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you saying that. We spoke a little bit about your past working as protection for a Mexican general and basically battling the cartels in Mexico and fighting on the side of the good guys. And today, I kind of want to just jump all the way back, because your story from the very beginning is fascinating. I mean, from growing up in California to joining like a neo-Nazi gang, to then denouncing the neo-Nazis and the movement, to then going off to Russia to go, try to fight Al-Qaeda. It's a fascinating wrap up that I want to, basically to start from the beginning. So can you explain where were you born and what was childhood like generally?
I gotta rep LA, the San Fernando Valley, where I came from. In fact, it's funny that you bring that up, because right now, if you go onto my Facebook thing, I've got several mutual friends that are right now facing a federal RICO indictment for being white power or white supremacists in the San Fernando Valley. I'm not going to get into it and throw out a bunch of names, but where I come from in LA is both the porno capital of the world, or was before they moved it to Vegas. When I was born, my mom was a pot-smoking hippie that was smoking pot with Charles Manson. They lived up on George Spahn's ranch in Santa Susana Pass before the 118, and my grandmother found out that my mom was smoking pot and dropping acid with Charles Manson, so she made my mom go up there with an undercover LA cop, and my mom got afraid, and she just missed being involved in the Tate LaBianca murders in 1969 and 70.
So your mom was living on Span Ranch.
She was up there doing acid and smoking pot every day. Yeah, she would go up there with her friend. I don't know if Debbie, I'm not going to leave her last name out of it, but Debbie lived in Simi Valley. In order to get back and forth between the San Fernando Valley and Simi Valley, you had to go along the Spahn Ranch, or Santa Susana Pass, which is where the Spahn Ranch was. It was on that road. And so they were hitchhiking. They're two hippie chicks. They're hitchhiking back to Debbie's house. And lo and behold, who picks them up? Charles Manson. So that's my mom.
Wow. Did she talk about Charles Manson?
Yeah. Charles Manson used to fill up my mom's back. He would sit there and see if she was wearing a bra and stuff like that. Yeah, for real, man.
What did she say about him? Like, what did she say?
She had hippie beads. My mom liked doing scrapbooks and stuff, and she had hippie beads that Charles Manson gave her. I think that when my mom died, she died the day I got home from the Bering Sea. But when my mom died, I think my sister got all those scrapbooks, but we couldn't prove that they were Charles Manson, but we know they were, just as a family. And that was my mom. So she would talk about going up there. My mom just loved partying and dropping acid and just the complete hippie. I mean,
did she describe him as being violent, or did she describe him as just being kind of like a music guy?
No. What my mom specifically talked about Charles Manson was, and I'm going to be very specific, word for word, he would talk about them all dropping acid, or she would talk about them all dropping acid together, him filling up their backs, because there's all hippie chicks up there. So, and it's 1969, Summer of Love. And they would paint rooms in the Spawn Ranch black and then use glue and paste styrofoam peanut packaging up on the wall and trip out on LSD looking at it like they're all stars. That's what they were doing. But
Wow.
it's the 60s. I mean, or
So it was just basically like a drug community at that point.
it was
when
a
she
total
in.
drug community, but it was a very violent underlying. You know, it's weird because we were talking about narco-satanismo. There are violent, evil people out there, and Charles Manson's whole thing. In fact, one of the persons that's tied into my story about robbing drug dealers and stuff was locked up with Charles Manson and in Vacaville. They were at the prison hospital in California, and they were talking about Charles Manson doing things for ice cream that are less than savory, we're gonna say.
Wow.
And well, he's not a big guy. He's like really
Right.
maybe comes up to here on my chest or whatever. But
Fascinating. And then
Yeah.
what was your dad like?
I've got two dads. I've talked in the other interview about one of my fathers being a post-op transsexual, and I grew up. I've got a little bit of cauliflower ear left over. If anybody ever feels a certain way about it and they want to talk about it, we can. I try to be humble, but I'm not going to put up with any crap about my dad. I tried to understand it. My biological father became a post-op transsexual, and I've read books on it. It's called sexual reassignment surgery. My last name sounds like synonym for homosexual, and so I grew up my whole life fighting. I'm not the toughest guy, but I've had to fight a lot in my life because of it. And he ironically was a very masculine man. He was a tunnel rat in Vietnam. And if you know anything about that, you have to go into the tunnels in Vietnam and dispatch people in hand-to-hand combat in the dark, being as quiet as possible so you don't alert any other people that might be in the rooms. So that was my biological father. And so if people think like I'm kind of looped or whatever, going down, confronting drug cartels or being in Russia, that's kind of where it came from.
Runs in the family.
It runs in the family. And I'm going to say this. I love my fathers. I have two of them. I have my biological father and I have the father that raised me. I love them both deeply. And
the father that raised you, what kind of work did he do?
he was a combat Marine. They wanted to court-martial him because he liked being in Vietnam, jacking stuff up. So when my biological dad, him and my mom went and go see Jimi Hendrix, which my cat's named for, and he was shipping out of Fort Ord, California, which no longer exists, but used to be an Army base, going to Vietnam, and my brothers and sisters' dad was getting back. And he had put in 3 tours, and they were going to court-martial him if he didn't leave Vietnam. So he had to come back, and he met my mom, who's this hippie chick, and my mom was already pregnant with me, but Leland was a very, and I call him Dad too, because he taught me how to shoot by the time I was 4 years old. He was from Nebraska and Iowa, so when they got out, we went back and grew up on a farm. My mom gave me away. He was, both of my fathers are very logical, unfeeling, and I don't know if Vietnam had something to do with that. And sometimes my wife complains about how I am, and I try to be a feeling and not emotional, but just try to like understand or be empathetic, if you will, of what other people are going through. But neither one of my fathers, you asked about what he was like, very hard workers, both of them in their own right. And when he came back, he spent his entire life in the military. And then even when he was done with one branch, he went from that to Army National. He went from Marines to Army National Guard to Air Force National Guard, and he retired with all kinds. In fact, I buried my father. I literally buried my father. There's a picture somewhere of me shoveling the dirt on top of him because no one's going to send my father home except for me. That's just the way it is. So
you lived on a farm in Iowa for a little bit.
Yeah,
and then
until we were 14 and we came back and were immediately dumped into gangs in L.A.
So you go back to San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, correct.
And you're just like a skater kid in San Fernando Valley.
Right.
And pretty immediately you're getting jumped by other gangs.
I got jumped by 6 Crips. They beat me up. And then no bones about it, I went back and brained one. They beat me up. 6 Crips beat me up, stole my skateboard, punked me, if you will. I got punked. And I went back to school the next day with a bat and brained the dude that was responsible for it. And that's just, it's the way it is. And I'm not some macho tough guy, man. I mean, One of my favorite movies is The Notebook. My wife hates it. I'm very in touch with like feeling affection. My mom was a very affectionate person. My fathers were not. I believe in being responsible for your own security and whatnot. And again, I'm not tough, but I do believe in being thorough and responsible for yourself in every way. I'm very submissive and subservient to my God. But my fathers taught me that. They stuck us in church from a young age, taught us to work at a young age. But going back to LA, you're forced. They had a thing called busing. And so no matter where you lived, and as it happens, I lived right next to the projects off of Vinalden and Parthenia, or Wilbur and Parthenia in the San Fernando Valley, and there's projects there. And so you're going to run into stuff. They had one guy get his throat slit at Laurie's Liquor. There was another guy that had one of his arms cut off with a machete because there was some altercation. So it was kind of a violent place. People will get into debates or have disagreements and arguments over what part of LA is the most violent. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say is that my brother and I had repeated run-ins with both Latino gang members and black gang members. And I'm not faulting anybody for the color they were born. I mean, when I was younger, I got into skinhead gangs like I was telling you on the other episode. And I've tried a long time. There's pictures I can show you where these used to be a lot darker, but I've been going to get my tattoos lasered off for a long time. I've got these big old SS lightning bolts on my arms. Had one ex-girlfriend try to get me to cover them up, and then midway through, I'm like, you're not going to be able to cover it up. Just stop.
And how old were you when you got the first tattoo?
My first tattoos I got right about when I was like 17, I think, 18.
So you're basically getting beat up by these gangs, and then for protection, you're like, okay, who can I roll with to not get beat up?
Yeah, well, I mean, you immediately decide whether or not you're going to be that guy. Because there are people that go through their entire life being bullied or refusing to confront whatever it is that they have to confront. And I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not a tough guy. So you immediately start falling in with like-minded people is more the way that it is. And so you start looking, and back then there wasn't online. I mean, we're talking like 1986, 1988. So you just start looking around and reading stuff. You go into punk rock shows and you run into like-minded people. And then so you start forming associations that way.
And then how do you actually like join into the gang? Like what happens from just kind of meeting these guys?
You start reading literature and stuff like that comes out in magazines and publications, and that's how you enter. And back then they didn't have the internet, so it's not the same way. And I'm a little bit older than you are. Back then there wasn't any of the internet. I mean, back then we had pagers. Beepers were a new thing back then. But you'd start reading literature and stuff like that. You'd correspond them, and then you go to local meetings and stuff like that. And even though it's California, everybody thinks that it's Liberalville or whatever, like it's a very left-leaning place. There's still a lot of that present in California.
Right. So how long were you in that gang for?
I was in that. I wouldn't call it a gang, but associating with those type of people right up until before I got sober, which was probably 25, 26.
And what was happening while you were involved with that? Was there any crime involved?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I have members or people that I called friends that are serving life sentences in prison to this day. Other ones that have been shot and killed in Pacoima, robbing drug dealers. I myself in 91 was looking into an attempted murder charge.
And what was the nature of that case? Can you share?
Robbing. Well, it's all public record. So like, I'm not covering my face up. And just this morning I was watching a thing where a lot of people will talk about things and you're not really clear on what their past was or not. Anyone that's really interested can go down to anywhere in LA and pull up the case file if they want. But what it was is there was a guy walking down the street and we weren't sure if he was an officer or not. And so I ran across the street and I dropped the dude. And then a lot of police didn't come in, and come to find out he wasn't a cop. And this is just our whole mentality at the time. And it's not any tough guy thing. It's what it was. And the same's true for Latinos and black people growing up in LA too. So when we found out that he wasn't a cop, come to find out the dude was a dealer. And we're like, no way. So we're trying to get the guy to go to his house. And long story short, we go to his house, and the person I was with wound up slitting the guy's throat.
Mm.
And there's a misquote. Like, I was in the LA Times, and the reporter misquoted me saying that I slit. It's in court documents. No one told on anybody. What happened was the guy spent so long in intensive care that because you'll see a lot of people that are talking about anybody online is a rat or whatever. Now, there's no rats in this case. What happened was the guy spent, when you get arrested, the government has a certain amount of time to arraign you, give you a pretrial, and et cetera, in a certain amount of time. And a lot of times to try you, and a lot of times they'll want you to waive your right to a speedy trial. And we refused to. And the guy had spent like a month in intensive care because, as I told you, he had his throat slit. So he's sitting in there. And originally they had arrested us for murder because they thought that the guy was going to die. And he didn't die. And to be honest, to the gentleman that happened to, I'm going to pick up with the point, but I want to make this clear. To the gentleman that happened to, if there was a way that I felt like I could reach out to you and somehow try to make amends for what you suffered that night, I would do that. And nothing I can ever do is going to make what happened that night okay. I'm not some tough guy. I've gone to school. I got my GED while I was locked up. I scored almost 100% in all the categories, with the exception of mathematics. And to this day, now I do engineering. I've tried to make a better life and try to stop from repeating the mistakes of my past and prevent that from happening to other people like you. And I apologize with all my heart. And you don't owe me any forgiveness or anything, but I want to make that clear.
I mean, that's beautiful. That's
I really, in case he sees this, because he might. And he got his throat slit, and he was in intensive care for a long time. And so we didn't waive our right to an arraignment or anything like that, to have any of that waived. And the very last day that they had to arraign us or give us pretrial, the guy wound up getting out of the hospital, and he was in court, and he was incriminating himself for selling drugs. And the judge told everybody that the guy that I was with and myself had separate lawyers. They wanted to see all the counsel in the judge's chambers. And what had happened was the guy was incriminating himself on the stand and he didn't have any legal representation. So the judge was putting a stop to it. So basically what happened is the prosecutor, they were offering us 15 years to life plus an extra 5 years on top of it. They threw away the 15 years of life, and they offered us, in my case, the guy I was with had just gotten out of state prison. So he had to go back to prison. He didn't have any deal. And because I had never been to prison, and still to this day I've never been to prison, I got 6 years joint suspended and had to do a year in the LA County jail. And what I was convicted of was ultimately considered a California wobbler. So a wobbler is something that the prosecutor could have tried as a felony or could have tried as a misdemeanor. And many years later, I wound up getting a lawyer and getting all of my cases expunged. I'm not a felon. I've done everything in my power to try to get an education, everything in my power to try to become a good person, everything in my power. And they'll talk about it a lot, like people will be in prison and and LA County Jail is a very, very violent place. There's a lot of stories I could talk to about that. I don't know if I should say it, but when people cut in line, when you're working in the kitchen and having access to large can openers, and it's been a long time, so I'm pretty sure that if there was a statute of limitations, hitting people in the head that want to cut in front of you in line with a can opener because members of a certain gang that are around Echo Park that beat the hell out of me, and I was in the hole, and I remember crying to my mom in the hole. I was crying. I'm like, hey, don't come visit me because my whole fucking head's lumped up because I just got in a fight with a whole bunch of Latinos in LA County, and you're locked up, and everybody there is in there for murder. Everybody there, Sonny Barger, the leader of a motorcycle club, has a quote of something along the line that everybody thinks they're a tough guy until they meet one.
What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because you need help pitching your tents. Yes, and that's what we do over here at camp. Maybe you're, in line waiting for a concert somewhere and you just need something to lean on. Who knows? Maybe you just need help pleasing the special man or woman in your life. And that's why I want to talk to you guys about Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the ultimate service to get you discreet supplements right to your home. And what do these supplements do? They give you that leg, that third leg, the important one. And Blue Chew is going to help you lay it down, okay? It's an amazing service that's coming straight to your door. And for the listeners of this very program, they are going to get their first month of Blue Chew for free. All you need to use is the promo code GAGNON, Gagnon, and you'll have them gagging. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying, my boy. So go to bluechew.com and try the promo code GAGNON, Gagnon, and you're going to get your first month free. All you got to do is pay $5 for shipping. That's like a coffee, okay? So to skip your morning cold brew and instead get that hard brew for an entire month. Yes, that is at bluechew.com. Use the promo code GAGNON and start laying it down like they deserve. Let's get back to the show. What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because I got to tell you a story. Imagine you're sitting in your house. It's cold outside. It's a little snowy. And you're like, man, I just want a panini. So you go and you order it, from DoorDash or something like that. And it never gets to you. You're looking at the app. You're like, dude, it's been 4 hours. Where's my panini? You're calling. No one answers. Well, this is a true story that happened. There was a woman, a client, that was working as a DoorDash driver, and she slipped and fell on an icy walkway outside of a Panera Bread in Fort Wayne, Indiana. She breaks her elbow, which leads to surgery and hardware having to get inserted into her arm. She can't work. And originally, she sues Panera, and Panera's like, okay, we'll give you like $125,000. But then the good people over at Morgan & Morgan fought for her and got her the $1 million verdict that she deserved. Yes. If you never heard of them, Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Yes, and they are that way for a reason. They've been fighting for the people for over 35 years. Now, I'll be honest, if I ordered, a panini and the woman gets paid $1 million because she slipped, I mean, it's a tragic thing to happen, of course, but I deserve a little bit of that. I should get a cut at least, right? I'm the one that ordered the panini. If I never ordered that panini, she never would have slipped, never got $1 million, which obviously she deserved. You know what I mean? But maybe next time she gets $1.1 million, I can get a cool 100,000 out of that. Regardless, all I'm saying is if you're ever injured and you are looking to get the money that you deserved, the compensation that is entitled to you from your injuries, Morgan & Morgan could be the way to go. Hiring the wrong law firm can be disastrous. I mean, you can be locked up in litigation. It's a nightmare. But hiring the right law firm could substantially increase your settlement. And with Morgan & Morgan, it's easy to get started. Their fee is $0 unless they win. That's right. Their fee is free unless they win your case. You don't pay you pay 0 cents unless they win your case. You can visit forthepeople.com/gagnon, Gagnon. That is forthepeople.com/gagnon, or dial #law. That's #529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/gagnon, or click the link in the description below. And thank you so much to the good folks over at Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this program and making this show possible with this paid advertisement. Well, let's get back to the show.
Okay, so just to elaborate a little bit on joining the Nazi cult and getting bolts, basically a set of lightning bolts is that you've shed blood for the white race. And it's a big deal. They expect you to either stab or kill someone. And I don't want to offend anybody, but I mean, that's really what it is. They expect you to stab or kill people. And if there's people that are being on a federal indictment right now, currently, it's going through the court system, you're going to be involved in like robbing people, robbing drug dealers, selling drugs, manufacturing drugs. And I mean, I'm not going to name any of them by name because that's just out of bounds, but they've made movies about this people. It's the San Fernando Valley. You can look it up and how many people are attached to that. And that's where I was born. That's where my cases were tried at. And, that's where I'm repping the San Fernando Valley just from the fact that I'm from there and involved in that type of stuff. And so everybody there is serious about it. And plus, California's got one of the most violent county jails, or LA County, one of the most violent prison systems there are. So as soon as you get in and getting lightning bolts, it's because you were like actively confronting some of the premier gangs in the entire country. I mean, Los Angeles is the gang capital of the world.
Did you get the bolts in prison?
I got them right. Yeah, I want to leave that part out of it for certain matters. But yeah, it had everything to do with that.
How do you eventually get sober?
I got sober. I knew I wouldn't die, if you can believe that, because you'll go to meetings a lot and you'll hear people talk about, if I ever drink or use again, I know I'm going to die. And I'd been through so much stuff. My mom sent me to live with my uncle in Santa Ana. I was in front of Father's Bar. It's not Father's Bar anymore. But I was having this issue with some gang members down there, and I jumped over a Corvette and they were shooting at me. And I remember thinking that this is how I'm going to die. And they left. They were in a white Jeep Cherokee. It was right there off of, it was in Santa Ana. Didn't die. And drug use, didn't die. My mom kicked me out at 16 years old. I had sold $500 worth of crack cocaine to a guy, Jeff Jones, that had gotten run over by a bus in Hawaii. And I got his Firebird. That was my first apartment because I was such bad news. My mom told me to get out of the house and not have anything to do with my brothers and sisters because I was just bad news, man. And I'm not bragging or outplaying any of this. In fact, I wish I had a different childhood and had done everything right, but I did not. So I have to do the best I had. How did I get sober? I had a daughter, my first daughter, and I tried to get sober for her, and I just knew it wasn't going to happen. And I went out, and I didn't think I was an alcoholic or whatever. And I'd gone out, and I decided I wanted to have a drink, and the book tells you to try some controlled drinking. So, I decided I was going to try some controlled drinking. I went immediately back to my old friends, immediately back to everything, and getting into one of the predominant California prison gangs, which is an upper echelon prison gang. I'm friends with a lot of them, or was. And it's kind of like a farm team, or at that time was a farm team for like the premier prison gang for white people in the entire United States. I'm not going to name names, but everybody knows what it is. And these people are for real. They had killed somebody and put them in a storage facility. I mean, when you involve yourself either with Satanism or with violence or with college sports, little league, and you get into college sports, when you dip your finger into a certain color paint, sooner or later, you're going to have that paint all over you.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean. And that's applicable to almost anything. Studying art, pretty soon you're probably going to be an accomplished artist.
Right.
Stand-up comedy, a few years go by and all of a sudden you're killing major arenas full of people. It's the same thing with being bad and going down the wrong path. Pretty soon you're pretty far down that path, and I was. And I involved myself again. I couldn't get sober because of my daughter because I just didn't feel like it. And wound up again. Drug dealers are a good thing to do because there's no law enforcement involved. You don't have to worry about it. You have to worry about people that want to kill you anyway, so you're not losing anything, man.
Right.
And was back in that thing, and there was a love triangle with my best friend, Danny, who's now deceased, God rest your soul, Danny Dog. And another person who is also now deceased that's a member of one of these gangs, Danny Boy. And I'm going to name them because they're both dead. And there was a love triangle between both of them. And one of the my best friend was not hooked up with this gang, and the other one was. And my friend beat up the other one, and his girlfriend was going to get a gun out of the car and shoot him. And I wound up smashing her because we can't be getting shot. So him and another person who's now sober also, who I wanted to be friends with, his name starts with a B. You know who you are. They came back to this house to kill me and Danny Boy, or Danny Dog, I mean. And we weren't there, so we went to go get guns and go back to this house and kill him. It was on Lindley. And that's the way it was. And Cece was there, an ex-girlfriend. And I was sitting in there on a counter. And it was at 1:00 p.m., July 18th, 1997. And I'm sitting there with a weapon on the counter. And I've got some dope. And I'm looking out this kitchen window, and here this guy comes rolling up in his Nova. He had a white Nova. And I was fearful. Man, I'm going to complete 28 years that I haven't touched a drop of booze or anything, man. And I know so many people out there. I got the best wife. I've got you. You were just interviewing Trump, and he's in my room, man. This isn't my mom's basement, man. This is my own house. And I've been given so much. And if you're a Crip or a Blood or you're a Latino gang member, you're anybody watching this, if you're in a cartel watching this, I want you to know that a miracle can happen for you too, because it happened for me. And this guy's rolling up. You know, I'm going to kill this guy, but I'm afraid. And I'm afraid because I'm in a house full of witnesses and I'm going to have to smoke this. I don't want to cuss, but I'm going to have to kill him, man. Because they just came there earlier that day to go kill us. And we went to go pick up weapons. And Danny Dog didn't show up. He wasn't there because he had to go get a flak jacket. And so there was me and a member of a major Mexican organization that I'm not about to drop their name. We were there. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, is this how my life is really going to go? I'm going to kill this guy right in front of all these people and spend the rest of my life in San Quentin, or he's going to come in and kill me. And that's just the end of my pathetic existence. And when people think that, like, I think like I'm all that because I've been chasing or working alongside a general in Mexico. I've been to Russia. Я говорю по-русски, если вы хотите говорить со мной по-русски, я могу. If you want to speak with me in Russian, I can speak that. Ani ismi Dawood. My name is David in Arabic. I speak all this stuff. I've studied. I've had the opportunity. All started with a GED in Max facility in Wayside, and then also in Supermax in Wayside as we were fighting an attempted murder. And so how I got sober, I'm sitting there thinking I'm going to have to kill this guy on this day at 1 o'clock, and I'll never forget it. And I know that there are Black and Latino people out there that go through the same thing I had to go through. And Booyah Tribe, I'm thinking, man, I love your guys' music. I watch all your videos. It's not a racist thing. It's a thing that you fall in with drugs and stuff like that, man. You get caught in this cycle. And so Cecilia runs out there and she tells this guy, hey, Burn Dog's in there with a gauge and he's going to kill you. And Danny Boy wasn't a punk. He's a member of like a premier prison gang. I don't know what she told him. She went out there crying. He got in his car and left. And I hid out at my sister's house, and in my sister's apartment, we lived right there on Orion Street off of Roscoe. It's a straight up Latino hood that you can get shot in. And I'm sitting there hiding out in my sister's apartment, and I'm hearing these guys come to my apartment looking for me until Monday. And that happened on a Friday. You can look it up. July 18th, 1997. It was a Friday. I hid out until Monday and got sober thanks to Russ and some other people at a sobriety house. And actually I'm in the paper. I meet a Nation of Islam guy because I was still racist as hell at the time too. And by racist, I mean unapologetically, because things have changed a lot now in today's world where, you know, people got to be worried about offending people. Believe me when I tell you, we weren't worried about offending people, because if you're into that, you're not worried about hurting someone's feelings. So it was definitely not that type of thing. It's not a bravado thing. It's just like the mentality, so people understand. I go into this rehab, and there's this guy by the name of Andre there, and I think that he might have passed. He wasn't there, and I was reading a book on Dr. Joseph Mengele, and it had a great big red swastika on the front of it. And he comes in the room, he asked me, you know, what are you reading, white boy? And immediately I called him the N-word. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get the video zapped. But I called him the N-word to his face. And big, bluff, black dude, Nation of Islam. And they don't have the best relationship with white people. In fact, I like a lot of, and this is going somewhere. We get in a big fight. And then we get in another fight. And then we get in another fight. And it's in the LA Times did a story on us. And one day he comes to my room and he's telling me, you know, I was thinking about you last night, because neither one of us were going to capitulate to the other guy, because he didn't like white people and I didn't like black people, and neither one of us cared. He told me if I'd been born, and he said something that changed my life, because I was listening to Amazing Grace on bagpipes. He comes in and I have this thing about not denying people Jesus. He sits down and listens to it because he asked if he can listen to it. I'm like, yeah, you can listen to it and then you can leave. Comes back the next day and he told me, you know, I had a dream about you last night. I'm like, are you gay or something? Real story. This is what happened. And Andre knows it too, and other people that were there. And he told me if I'd been born white, I would be just like you. I'm like, whoa, man, because you got these like straight up racist black Nation of Islam guy. And when he told me that, and I realized if I'd been born black, I would have been just like him. And I thought to myself, everything in your life, every failure is your fault, because even you've been blaming black people and Latinos for this whole time. You were gifted athletically, you did nothing with it. You speak all these languages, which you learned all by yourself without even going to school. You did nothing with it. You got straight A's in school, and when mom and dad got divorced, you took the easy way out and went to drugs. You did nothing with it. So you can't be mad at anybody but yourself, and you hate everybody because you hate yourself. And to be honest, Mark, even all these years later, I still, fuck, man. My wife got, oh, fuck. My wife got straight A's in school. She's got 2 master's degrees, man. Oh, fuck, I got to keep it together. Because I went to Mexico to go fucking die, man. And I don't want to cuss, but I mean, dude. She did everything right, and her fucking pull it together, man.
Take your time.
She did everything right. I'm not going to punk out, man. My wife did everything fucking right in life, man. And she saved me from myself at Mexico. And so, like, when people see my videos or whatever, I'm not some, like, better guy, dude. Ah. And she's right there. My wife is crying off camera, man. And you know what? I've sat there in a cartel gunfight thinking about how I'm going to kill my wife, because if they come inside and see my uniforms, they're going to torture my wife, and I've been through some serious shit, dude. And saying these videos, something could happen to my wife and I, and you know, I worry about if while I'm at work, someone's going to come home and get my wife or some shit. This is real shit. So to the other people doing podcasts that won't say your name, you know what? This is my life and this is what I'm about. And part of me feels happy that I can like cry and open up, because I've been really hardcore in life, man. And I love my wife deeply. I care about doing what my God says deeply. And if I ever have to pay some particular price, that's okay. But I mean, when I'm back then, I wasn't feeling anything. And so Andre made me know that I hated myself and not all these other people. So yeah, I got these big SS lightning bolt tattoos that I've tried to get stuff taken off. And so that day, when you asked me how I got sober, because I have a looped roundabout way of talking, so please forgive me, because I go off on a trail, but I want people to understand the details, because I'm a very logical, concise, unfeeling person sometimes. And with work, that's all I get paid to do. I'm all about results. In Mexico, it's results. Here to this day, I still get paid for results. And I mean by big, major international defense companies. You know, right now I'm working. I showed you my lanyard yesterday. I'm not going to get into who it is I work for or what I do, but I'm helping keep this country safe with stuff that's out in the water right now.
Which is awesome. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, man. Because freedom's an important thing, Mark.
What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because buying work boots is annoying, okay? Take it from me, stand-up comedian, podcaster, okay? I'm busting my tuchus. You can see my hands here. Calloused. Don't look too close. Doesn't matter. Guys, buying work boots is tough because basically you got to choose, all right, do I want them to be comfortable? Do I want them to be really durable? Do I want them to be safe? Or do I want them to be affordable, you know? And so now you're going through all these different brands. You're like, okay, well, these are going to wreck my feet. These ones are going to last a long time, but they're super expensive. These ones feel good, but they're going to get destroyed. Well, now you don't have to choose. And that's because I want to talk to you about Brunt Workwear. This was started by just a regular blue-collar guy that basically was talking to all his friends that work in trade jobs, and they kept on being like, hey, these big brands don't listen to us, and they either haven't changed in 100 years or they've changed too much, and now they're super cheap and poorly made. But that's why he invented Brunt, because these are products that are used by real hardworking tradesmen that want something that is extremely comfortable right out of the box. They want them to look cool. They want them to be not crazy expensive, and they want them to last a long time. And that's why Brunt is amazing. I've been wearing these around the city because, it's a little bit chilly now, and I put on my boots just to make people think that I have a blue-collar job. And they are comfy right out of the box. I mean, like I wear, like running shoes, regular shoes all the time. And these kind of feel like that. Like it feels like I'm just wearing like a normal boot. But these are awesome because they are super safe. They're waterproof. They are, lace up. They are great ankle support. And on top of that, they last forever. I actually have friends that work in roofing, and they'll wear these in the wintertime up in, Pennsylvania, and they'll be able to wear them throughout the whole year. And they keep your feet warm. They last a super long time. They've dropped like hammers on their toes, and they're, generally safe. I mean, I wouldn't recommend testing it yourself, but if some mistakes happen like they do on the job site, you can be sure that you'll be safe with your Brunts. Now, I don't think there's a ton of other brands that are doing what Brunt is doing. And that's because Brunt stands by what they make. You can wear them to work, and if they're not right for you, you can send them right back. I don't know any other brand that does that. That's a company that is standing on business. So all that to say, Brunt stands on what they believe. You can try them out, send them back if they don't work, but I'm telling you, you're going to love them. They're extremely comfortable. I've been wearing them around the city. They keep your feet warm. They keep your feet safe, and they're not crazy expensive, and they might be the last boots you ever buy because you're going to wear them for years, and they're going to hold up. I'm telling you, Brunt is amazing, and they love this podcast so much that the listeners of this very show are going to be getting $10 off Brunt when they use the code CAMP at checkout. Just go to bruntworkwear.com, use the code CAMP, and you are good to go. Stop messing around. Your feet are important, and your health and safety is the most important thing you can do. Check out Brunt, and now let's get back to the show.
But what happens with Andre?
Andre tells me that, that if I was black, or if I was white, I would be born just like you. And it gave me the opportunity to start changing my life. And Malcolm X. So I get in this fight with these two other Nation of Islam guys because they asked me, what do you know about Malcolm X other than he's black? And I'm like, that's enough. That's the only thing I need to know about him to dislike the guy. No lie, no cap, if that's what they're using these days. And so I get in a fight with these guys, and we can't leave this place because it's kind of like a last stop type thing before you get in big trouble. And they give me a book on Malcolm X. In fact, I got that book upstairs right now. And I read this book on Malcolm X, man. Malcolm X. Oh, man, if I could say it, my N-word. Hey, Malcolm, I don't care who sees it. You helped save my life, man. And I'm not Muslim, not at all, man. I'm a fervent Christian. But I believe in what they told you when you got out of prison. They gave you a 30 and it told you to do for self. And man, you do for self. And if you're watching and if you're white and black or whatever, Latino, you do for self. In all things, do for self. And when you can't do for self anymore, then your higher power, your God will step in. But I've seen you work, Mark. I went to your show and I saw you grind out another show. And then I saw you grind out a whole nother day of stuff. And man, respect, because your work ethic's there too. And in Brooklyn, the thing that's great about New York, and I'm going to Andre, New York and LA are cities that if you don't produce, you will get smashed. It will grind you to nothing. And I've seen at Madison Square Garden, an epileptic sitting there having a convulsion, and someone in glasses said, I'll never forget it. I just got back to the States. They're like, isn't it your job to go off and crawl off in a bush and die somewhere? Straight up is what they told somebody. Nature doesn't give a damn about you. So Andre gave me the ability to recognize that everything in my life was my fault. And when I learned that I had no one to blame but myself, I got to take a long, cold, hard look at your lack of education, your lack of finishing school, your lack of anything in life. And now many years later, like I told you, 28 years later, almost 3 decades, I'm still enrolled in school right now, Mark. I can pull out a thing right now and show you. I've got a Harvard thing open on that laptop over there where I'm studying right now. And I went to law school in Mexico. I want to pass the bar exam in the United States and become a lawyer here and fight for rights that I think that are important for us. And that's what Andre gave to me. He gave me the drive to do that. And my wife continues to give me the drive to do that.
Did you stay in touch with Andre after that day?
You know what I did? And that's also in the paper too, because I would go back and Andre, I don't think made it. I think that he died. I would go back and drop him off cigarettes. He smoked Newports. Andre had some of his own demons that he was wrestling with. And, not all of us make it. So anyone that thinks like I feel like I'm special or whatever, I'm not. I don't deserve this chair any more than any one of a million other people that are out there doing the fentanyl bend over. I just saw someone online the other night Was it you doing the fentanyl joke? Someone was doing a fentanyl joke where they delivered a baby by being bent.
Yeah.
And so I see it every day, and that could be me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, my life, so I wind up getting sober, and it changes my whole life. And
I'm sure at that point you start to realize, like exactly what you said, that a lot of the problems were internal, which gave you the autonomy to fix them. But you're in an organization and hanging out with a lot of guys that still have a lot of racist ideals. So how do you step away from them?
it almost cost me my life, man. In fact, just recently I went to, forgive me, but if you just give me an indiscretion, I'm not choosing any of you guys on, but I'm just going to say what it is. It was at the Van Nuys Air Museum right there on Balboa. And the guy that I'm talking about, whose name starts with a B, one of your homeboys was there. And I'm not being all brave or whatever. If you guys feel, because we run into each other, Mark, we do. We're all sober now. And if you guys feel a certain way, I love that you guys are sober, but I run into these people. They're real people, and they have done serious stuff. And a lot of them, like I told you, still have life in prison. I went back to LA recently for a dear friend Sam's birthday at the Van Nuys Airport Museum. And a lot of these people weren't okay with me leaving white supremacy and everything that we were about. And, some of them have wanted to kill me, man. I mean, I don't feel like I have a life or a risk to my life these days, but that night there was a few of them that gathered around that wanted to have things a certain way with me, and I left because I don't want my wife around that because it's ugly, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's savage. And to be honest, that night I probably would have gotten work because these guys, one of them was on soft white underbelly. And so, the Valley produces like a premium prison car. It's famous. It's a SFV prison car in California. It's probably the biggest prison car with, and like I told you at the beginning of all this, with a major federal RICO racket right now that's going through court with the 818 operation. That's what's called 818 because of a playoff on our area code for that sector of LA.
So now at that point, you try to join the military. But
I went down to the military to go try to join the military 7 different times. And to be super clear for any of you feds watching this, because you are. I called you guys and was on the phone with Langley, Virginia for a half hour with a lady gentleman, or not gentleman, obviously, but with a lady for a half hour trying to talk you guys into letting me go to Nice, France. You have the recording. It's in your database somewhere. I'm on the phone with Langley, Virginia, trying to join the CIA because one thing I do know how to do is shoot and fight. I'm very good at both of them. I'm a professional. Am I Sean Ryan good? Probably not, but do I feel comfortable with bad guys coming into my house? I was talking with one of your crew members earlier today about just kind of how I roll. I feel okay with that, but I do go down to the military and I ace their ASVAB because I've always been gifted at school. And that's really disgusting if you think about it because God did give me a lot and I've done nothing with it. So I go down and ace the ASVAB, but they tell me, hey, you can be military intelligence. You can do whatever you want. Oh, your record? You can't come in. And they have a thing called the captain's waiver for all of our military buddies out there. They know what it is. To where if you passed high school, haven't got a prison thing or any felonies, they will work with you on certain things. But with the gravity of what I was involved in, they didn't want anything to do with me. I've been down to the Marine Corps several different times. I've been down to the Navy, and I've been down in the Navy. Shame on you guys. You guys are really kind of picky. I've been down to not the Air Force, but the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Army. I went down to all of them. And 7 different times I tried to enlist, and none of them were having anything to do with me. So, long story short, I watched the Daniel Pearl beheading video, and Daniel Pearl was a Jew. For those of you that don't know, that just think I'm got an axe to grind against Jewish people, I do not. Daniel Pearl is an American, and they cut off his head. And there's some conspiracy about whether it was an American CIA video or whatever. But the bottom line is I watched that video in my office at home and decided I wasn't going to let the American government tell me what I could or couldn't do. And if anyone ever wants to like try to like make me pay for trying to be a good person and do the right thing, I'm okay with that. You go right ahead.
But Daniel Pearl's a journalist that gets beheaded by Al-Qaeda.
Right.
But that Daniel Pearl moment, I think, is important because that to me is like the moment of redemption, right? Like you have this moment where like you're a guy that I think a lot of people assume you're like, oh, this is just some racist guy, right? He's got these bolts on his arms. He's in this neo-Nazi cult. But then you get sober, you denounce all those sort of racist ideals. You start reading Malcolm X. You have a complete turn of heart, towards people of other ethnicities or other religions, and you start to acknowledge that people are just people that
we
are born
don't
in
have any
circumstance.
control over what color you're born, dude.
Right. And
that's it.
And then you see this video of an American journalist who happens to be Jewish who gets beheaded, and it enrages you so much that you want to now go fight Al-Qaeda.
I've always wanted to serve this country. Both my dads were military.
Mm-hmm.
My family's been military since before this was even a country. They hung my grandmother in Boston because of her religion. So my family is, my great-great-great-great-grandfather started Rhode Island. So my family's been involved in this country for a long time. I wanted to join the military. They didn't let me, and I'm not going to let someone tell me that I have to have their permission to go do the right thing. So if I have to go to another country, I went to Russia and had Muslims joking about cutting off my head in the car as we were going to Mount Shaikan to go learn how to do paragliding and other things. I was looking at fighting Al-Qaeda in Russia. Ultimately, Sam Childers, there's been YouTube videos of him. They wanted to sell me a $4,000 visa to Sudan, to South Sudan, to go rescue child soldiers, and I just wanted to go over there directly from Mexico. Sam Childers, if you see this, I wanted to go work for you. You guys wanted to sell me a $4,000 visa, straight up. There's email and internet traffic to verify that. I wound up going to Russia to go confront Al-Qaeda because I'm not going to wait for someone to tell me I need their permission to do the right thing.
So how does that work? How do you get to Russia, and then who do you talk to try to join sort of like the Russian military to go fight Al-Qaeda?
So I got to be careful about how I say that because we're in an era where we're potentially at a point to where we might be having a war with Russia shortly. And, I want to be kind of careful about how I say that. But I wind up in Sterlita-Mac, Russia, and my second daughter is born in Soda Hospital in Sterlita-Mac, Bashkortostan, Russia. Her birth certificate's in Russian and Bashkiri, which is a requirement there. And I'm going to say that if you did want to do something, hypothetically, like join the FSB, which is the Federalna Sluzha Bezopasnosti, which is the Federal Security or Intelligence Service, that you would have to know somebody that was either a KGB member or a member of that service and have them vouch for you to get in there. And that Russia is something that I did that I'm going to, at this point in time, I got to talk to a lawyer before I expand on that some more, Mark. But if I do divulge more on that, it's going to be with you. But I'm in Russia. I'm looking to go look for bad guys.
That makes complete sense. Did you learn Russian while you were there?
I learned Russian shortly before I was there. And then I learned it back in the United States. Well, I mean, living there, obviously it's immersive. So you come back with a commanding language or a certain command of the language, and then came back to the United States and wound up, of all things, going to work and trying to go to work in Mexico for the factory, doing that whole thing, and then wound up doing the cartel thing for my general.
Right, and that's in another episode that we did that people can check out. That's right. You expound on a lot of the work you did. And
there's even more. I mean, there's 5.5 years there of stuff that you could go on. I mean, we've really condensed a lot of this, but and I know that you're busy. You've been working and working and working.
Well, I don't want to dive too deep into the Russia stuff before you speak with a lawyer.
The Russian thing, I really do want to dive into it because it's incredibly interesting, and there's a lot that I can't expand on Russia. But given the political climate right now with everything that's going on in the world and with the Ukraine thing, there are people right now, American soldiers, that are going over and fighting for Ukraine, and no one's saying anything about it. There are people in Africa that are American military, or Eric Prince. I went, to just be super clear for the audience, I have applied for Triple Canopy. I've applied for Blackwater. I've applied for G4. I know all these companies off the top of my head because they all have my resume, so I'm not hiding anything.
And you said French Foreign Legion as well.
My grandmother made me promise. Yeah, I called the French Foreign Legion. They didn't like my grill. The guy was the biggest jerk I ever talked to in my entire life because I called him, and in order to join the French Foreign Legion, you got to go to Fort Denouchant in Paris, France. And the guy was talking about you have to be strong. And by strong, I don't mean just being able to lift weights, but you have to be physically strong as far as endurance. 70 is how you say 72. 60 is 60. 10 is 12. But to say 72, it's not 70, it's 70. And they teach you how to count the 6 digits of your weapon by duck marching and beating you in the back of your head. But you got to have a good grill. Reason why you got to have a good grill is because a lot of people went to the French Foreign Legion from Africa, would get their teeth fixed, and then they'd bail. But my grandmother, who basically raised me, made me promise not to go. Grandma, God rest your soul. I really would have loved to do the French Foreign Legion thing, man. I mean, man, the Kepi Blanc. I really wanted to do it. I've been to Russia. I've been places where they're going to cut off my head, Grandma, and I've been to Mexico. But the French Foreign thing was my rooster. That's the one I really wanted to do, but my grandmother made me swear not to do it. And I did not do it because of her.
And why was she concerned about the French Foreign Legion?
She didn't want me to give away my American citizenship. She was tripping on that.
Yeah.
And,
that makes sense. So when you come back from Russia, you still have this strong sense of doing the right thing.
I'm going to do my own thing. The cartels gave me drugs when I was a kid, Mark. And when I went to Mexico, and I'm like, my ex left my daughter in Russia, Yekaterina, the one I was talking to you about, or talking about in the other video. And my grandmother was dead while I was married to her. And I didn't do the French Foreign Legion because I've got my daughter at this point. When she left my daughter in Russia, I'm just because I could really go on tangent on this, and I don't want to. I was training at Gokor Chavichin's in North Hollywood doing judo. I'm a judoka. I love judo. I practice it to this day. I get a call from my ex, and she's telling me that she's down at Tom Bradley International Airport, and I go to pick her up. My daughter's not there, man. Long story short, I offer my ex $10,000 in cash. My daughter's lived in Russia for these last 2 decades. My ex has lived in the United States, and I never got to be my daughter's father, and that kills me inside, man. And so when they took away my daughter and the cartels gave me drugs, and I have a commanding thing of Spanish because everyone that works for me is Spanish. I got like 200 guys. I'm like, you know what? Fuck you, man. I'm going to go confront the cartels. I'm not a little kid to give drugs anymore. And we're just going to fucking fight until I die. And, if you guys ever want to take me up on that and kill me, that's still very much my sentiment. I would like to live a life in peace, but
that feeling of the cartels giving you drugs when you were a kid, really.
I'm going to do something. I'm grown up now. Let's do it.
That motivated you.
100%. So I wrote a letter to the PGR, to the Procuraduría General de la República, and they didn't tell me no. They just said, not right now. And I took that to be like, a huevo, which means like, in Spanish, it just means like, yeah, fucking let's go. I'm going to go down there. And I knocked on their fucking door, man, and they gave me a chance. And my general gave me everything. Gosh, man, I feel like a pussy because I'm...
No, not at all. I feel it,
My
brother.
general gave me everything, man. And when you get in that truck and you're going to die and fight these guys and protect your general, my general gave me the opportunity to be with my wife. He gave me an opportunity to live in Mexico. He gave me food. When I was going through basic training, they fed us pork that was kind of rotten. I was going to spit it out, Mark. And I couldn't spit it out because I'm sitting there eating this rotten pork with my brothers that have been murdered. With my brothers that we spend all night all away from our home. Our families have been threatened and killed. We've been imprisoned. The Americans call us degenerate, corrupt trash. And we get up and we do it for $600 a month. I've got my paycheck stubs right over there. And I ate that chunk of rotten pork because there's no fucking way I'm going to let my brothers from my own platoon eat that shit alone. And, man, you know what? Hey. I have zero regrets, and if someday someone catches me and I got to meet a gruesome end, when I went to Mexico, I was afraid to have my head cut off or be shot in the head. Now this day, it's not bravado, but I'm not afraid to have my head cut off. I'm not afraid to be shot in the head, because if you cut off my head, it's going to last about 60 seconds. And if that's the price of admission for everything that I've got to live, I'll fucking pay that 100 fucking times over, because you're not sending me any place I'm not already going. Fucking straight up. And you know what? I'm just going to end it with that, Mark, because that's just the way it is, man. You know? And if people see my videos, and they're going to see this, in the comment section, to my haters, you didn't give me a chance to fucking begin with, and if you think I'm going to regret something when talking shit because you didn't want to give me a chance now, toma. I have zero regrets, okay? And it's not me being bravado. I'm a very humble fucking person, but and any of you, I would invite you to dinner in my house. I've invited all you guys to dinner in my house and stay in my house, and that's kind of the way I am in real life. But I'm not going to put up with a scintilla of you guys bad-mouthing me, because I've done the best I can with what I got, and that's just the way it is, Mark. And I hope that I've given you a good episode, and I hope that I've given people that see this a better understanding about our two countries and the way things are, or about people with my background. And the very last thing that I want to say, I want to thank my mother. I want to thank my father, Tommy. I want to thank my father, Leland, and I want to thank my God for everything that I got.
Thank you, Dave.
That's it, man.
Thank you, brother. Genuinely, I see your story as one of redemption and one of really trying to do the right thing, right? Like, you were born into a tough situation and you did the best you could. And I think, you know, I've spoken with a lot of different people from different backgrounds, you know, whether it's, you know, black gangs or Latino gangs, and the stories are always similar, right? It's people that are struggling, that need to survive, and they try to find situations they can survive. And the difference with your story is that I think you came out the other side a much better person. You know, you went through some real shit.
I'm not going to quit, man. No way.
I don't think you know how.
No, if I have a one regret, it's that I haven't done enough. In fact, I got to get a bar exam so I can help people. I want to help people, man.
Well, you've done enough for me, and I really think your message is going to hit a lot of people. That even if you know, you're on the wrong side of something early on in your life, it's not how the game starts; it's how it ends. And it seems like your life, specifically in that moment of getting sober and realizing, you know, that you control your destiny, and that you've really taken upon yourself to be a good guy and to do the right thing and to do the hard thing, even when it's really hard to do, I find really motivational and really inspiring. So
Thank you, man.
I appreciate you sharing the story with me and with the whole audience.
I appreciate you coming to my house, man. You guys are welcome, all of you. I mean, I don't know if I should name your entire team, but I mean, I know all of your guys' names. I was ashamed because I didn't know them the first night when I met you guys the first time.
No worries.
But I know them all now, and you know what? You guys are all welcome to my house anytime that you want. And my wife, I think, echoes the sentiment.
I think maybe the most beautiful part of the story that you've touched on a little, and I don't want to get into it more because I obviously know it's sensitive, but the relationship with you and your wife is really beautiful, and the way that you guys have been there for each other and support each other through really difficult moments.
I want to say one last thing in the video, if I can.
Please.
Every journalist that works in Mexico, a cada uno de ustedes que se están trabajando en México, quiero decir a ustedes que hay muchas personas que están tratando de sacar una ganancia en otros países, incluso Canada, entre otros. To everybody that's trying to make money off this thing, there's a bunch of Mexican journalists out there, and my wife's one of them, working for Televisa. And my brothers and I will go toe-to-toe with any cartel, toe-to-toe with any evil that's in the world, and we're trained to do it. We've been trained to a very high level. Can rappel off of buildings upside down with no hands. There's videos of it. To the reporters that risk your life and your families every day without all the weapons that we're carrying, without your platoon with you by your side, you have nothing but my deep, undying respect and thank you for trying to bring light to the world, a great evil that exists, that destroys all of our children's lives. And to you, I respect you. You are the unsung heroes. And to the doctors and people that are making the world a better place, we're not the heroes with our weapons. You guys are. And to the educators, and I would be remiss if I did not take the time to thank all those people, because as far as I'm concerned, that's who I respect. The people that are doing that, the reporters that confront the same evil we confront, but their weapon's a pen. So that's what's up.
Well, to both of you, thank you so much, and you both have my respect. Thank you for inviting us into your home to do this, to do all these episodes.
Man, for real.
And I'm excited to do it again.
Hey, man, thank you.
Thank you, brother.